My name is Nathan Spiteri. I'm 45. I do live in New York. I am from Australia though. And today we're just going to talk about my story of abuse, what I went through, and where I am today. I grew up in a loving family with mum and dad. I had an older sister and a brother. And at the time of the abuse is when my second brother came along. So there was an 8-year gap between the brother below me and that one. But we were a very loving, happy family. You know, us kids would always be outside playing games. My family's Catholic. And I guess I grew up in more of a conservative type family. They were very safe and very, follow the rules and don't step out of line. And my parents were always get married, get a job, get the house with the white picket fence and the kids, and just the norm. That was it for us. But I was always the black sheep of the family and would always not conform and go the other way. And when it comes to things like abuse, that doesn't happen in my family. We don't talk about that just doesn't exist in our existence. We didn't talk about the birds and the bees. We didn't talk about sex. We didn't talk about what to do, how to do it, and how to be safe. It was just a matter of us going out there and experimenting on our own. And during the summer holidays, it also felt like the whole town would just congregate at this pool, at this local pool. So it was something that we'd done, every day, almost every second day. We'd go down to the pool, me and my sister and my brother sometimes, and just hang out with friends, swim all day. We'd ride our bikes down there, hang out and then ride our bikes home at the end of the day. My sister and I went down to the pool. We rode our bikes. She went with friends and went somewhere else. And I said, fine, go, I'll be okay, I'll stay. I stayed till the very end of the day. All my friends had left. I was there alone. I went into the change rooms to get changed. There was probably one or two other people at the pool, if that. It was completely dead. Everyone had left. I had a man follow me into the change rooms and follow me into the shower, corner me in the shower and kind of slammed my head into the wall, which dazed me, confused me. It didn't knock me out, but I was kind of in and out. And he raped me in the shower. The first words he said to me was that if I tell anyone, he'll kill me and he'll kill my family. So as an 8-year-old in the 80s, without access to mobile phones, without access to the organizations, to the hotlines, to everything that we have today, I took that as gospel. I didn't tell a soul. He ever so calmly left the shower, got changed, and then just left the change room. And I remember sitting in the change room for quite a while, sitting in the shower for quite a while, not sure of what had happened to me, not sure of what was going on. And from that moment, straight after, the grooming and the lies started. Him telling me that this is what I wanted, that I picked him up at the pool, that my parents want me to be with him, that he loves me, that my parents hate me, that if I tell anyone, I'll get in trouble with the police and he'll be fine. So, as soon as it happened, the grooming and the manipulation, the lies started, and I fell into that and I believed it. I didn't know what else to do. I was scared for my life, but I was so intrigued by what happened and I wanted to see him. Through all the pain and through all the heartache and everything I went through, I didn't see him again probably for a month or two. And then I was at the local bus interchange after school. We'd catch the bus from school to this bus interchange to then get on another bus to go home. So I was there with my friends and I spoke to my friends about this. And the very first time I saw him, or the very next time I saw him after the initial time, was he just walked up to me at the bus stop, put his arm around me and walked away. There was no screaming, there was nothing going on, and my friends just thought he was my dad or a family friend or just someone coming to pick me up from the bus interchange to take me home. And I think I was nervous, I was gobsmacked, I didn't know what to say, I couldn't say anything, and I just went with him. Scared for my life, but also intrigued by who this man was and what had happened that day at the pool and what was going on and what is he going to do with me. And he told me that if I tell anyone, he'll kill people, that this is what my parents want, that my parents hate me. And from that initial day at the pool, I had pushed my parents away, I'd pushed my family away, I built up that wall to protect them, but also to protect myself. I didn't tell a soul, I didn't say a word to anyone, and that was my way of keeping this all secret and keeping it all safe from everyone. The first line he said was that if I tell anyone, he'll kill me and kill my family. He then left the shower, got changed. I was sitting in the shower. He came back to me when I was in the shower, turned the water off and said, listen, if you tell, this is what your parents want. I saw you looking at me at the pool, that you picked me up. If you tell anyone, no one's going to believe you. You're going to be a liar. You're going to get in so much trouble. So it was pretty much straight after. So happened, the first line, if you tell anyone, I'll kill you, kill your family. Walked away, got dressed, came back, and that's when the lies, the grooming started. He grabbed me, put me in his car, drove me to his house, and sat me on the couch and, offered me a drink, and again, just started with the lies and the grooming, telling me that if I tell anyone, he'll kill me and kill the family, that this is what I want, that my parents told him to be with me, that I'm a very special boy, I'm a very lucky boy. And then he proceeded to abuse me and rape me again. And that relationship, or I call it a relationship, went on for about 5 years. And there was a lot of violence in there. If I would just turn up at his house, or if I wouldn't obey, he would slap me and hit me and choke me up against the wall, make me pee my pants, just because I was so scared and so out of breath. But then through the grooming, the lies and manipulation, it turned into a Stockholm Syndrome type relationship where I felt love for this man. I wanted to be with him. I wanted to go and see him. I would ride my bike to his house and wait for him outside to get home. I would hide behind cars and wait for him to turn up. He knew how to take control, and he knew how to have the power, and I just obeyed and went with it, and thought I loved him, and thought I wanted to be with him, and thought I was special, and all my other friends weren't special. Yeah, it was a roller coaster, very rough and violent, and then on the other hand, it was very safe and very loving, and as safe and loving as it can be. When it first happened at the pool, I left my body. I was just a doll. I was just a rag doll, and he was doing what he was doing to me, but I left my body, and I could see it from above. I could look down and see what he was doing to me. And throughout the relationship, or throughout the violence and the abuse, I would just constantly leave my body. I would just go numb. I wasn't there. Mentally and emotionally I was there. Physically I was there, and I knew what was going to happen. I knew the pain I was going to be in. I knew the hurt I was going to be in. But I needed to be there, and I needed to be a part of it. But I would just check out once it happened, and I would just leave my body and go to a different place. That was the only way I was able to survive. For the next 25 years, I never told a soul. It happened when I was 8. I first told someone when I was 32 years old. So I never told a soul, I never hinted. And because I never told a soul, because I never hinted, on what happened to me, he abandoned me because he was there one day, and the next day he was gone. So for 2 years, I questioned who I was, what I was. Am I gay? Am I straight? He told me how special I was. Am I really special? I fell into a deep depression. I started drinking. I would steal my dad's and started drinking, and he used to smoke back then, so I'd steal his and smoke a little bit. So for 2 years, I just questioned who I was, what I was, where I belonged in the world. From 15 years old, I would ride my bike to the next suburb over, and it was an industrial suburb. There are a lot of sex clubs and gay cruise lounges and gay clubs, and at 15 years old, I would sneak in there, and I would let these men rape me again and abuse me and have their way with me. And on occasion, I would turn around and then just beat them up and bash them and rob them. And again, that was my view of the world, my way of getting my power back. So I was very overly sexual. I was doing all this stuff with men whilst trying to be in relationships with women, and whilst trying to have a girlfriend. I craved it. I wanted it. I needed it. And it's weird because I hated it, but I loved it. It was the most disgusting thing in the world, but I would still get hard. I would still come and get off by it, but there was never any intimacy. I would never touch these men. I would never kiss them, hold them, caress them, love them. It was just the act, and I needed to feel the act. When he left me, he just disappeared. He just disappeared out of my life. And that was the last I ever saw of him. So, there was never really any closure. There was never really any understanding. My family don't want me. My parents don't love me. But now he doesn't love me, and he doesn't want me. So my family's abandoned me, and now he's abandoned me. And now I'm on my own, and now I've got to take care of myself and do what I need to do for myself to survive. And that's how I lived my life for a very long time. I lived for up until I was 32, up until the day I told someone. I'd moved to New York to study acting, and hoping to get away from my past, hoping to get away from the sex and the violence and start fresh. And no one knows me here. I can start fresh. But moving to New York, New York is the center of the world. You can get what you want, when you want, how you want it, cheaper than anywhere else and more frequent than anywhere else. So I fell back into that hole twice as bad. I just turned 32, and it was just after my 32nd birthday, and my best friend at the time was a friend from acting school. She was Canadian, and she was moving back to Canada, and she told me that she didn't want to be my friend anymore, that she was done with me, that she couldn't handle our friendship because I was so erratic and I was so all over the place. I just went out and was violent and sexual with someone. So I remember calling her and saying, "Listen, I need to see you one more time. If you don't want to be my friend anymore, don't be my friend. I totally accept it and I understand." She was there waiting for me. I walked in there, and she was very cold with me. And, "What do you want? I can't do this anymore. What's going on?" And I couldn't tell her. I couldn't find the words. And she said, "All right, well, I'm out. I'm done. I can't do this with you anymore. I'm leaving." So I just kind of grabbed her and said, I was raped as a kid. And she kind of just stopped and came back and sat down, and it really was like a movie because I was speaking loud and I was crying and I was just so emotional. And once we stopped talking, literally every table around us was just watching us. So she helped me find a therapist, and then the healing and the recovery side of things just kind of went from there. Very first time I uttered the words I was raped, I was abused, was at 32 years old here in New York. I told my parents about 6 months after starting therapy. So when I told them, it was hard, because the hardest part of that night was I told them, we went home, my parents were sleeping in my bed, I was on the couch, and I just heard my mum cry throughout the night. And that's what broke my heart, was that moment. I have lots of regrets in life. I've done a lot of bad things in life. I've hurt a lot of people in life, but I wouldn't change a thing, because it's brought me to where I am today. And today I understand life so much more and so much better than if I didn't go through this. I understand relationships. I understand the meaning of life and the meaning of joy and love and peace and forgiveness. And that was another big thing of my healing journey, was finding forgiveness for myself. I'll never forget what he did to me. In order for me to move forward, in order for me to find peace and closure, there needs to be some form of forgiveness there. There needs to be some form of being able to move forward, because otherwise I'm going to sit in that anger. I'm going to sit in that hatred, learn to understand it, educate myself on it, and then move forward with it, so that when it hits me again, I have the tools and techniques in place so that I'm able to move forward with it. I'm able to take control of it, and it's not going to take control of me anymore. I thought I loved him. I did, absolutely. And I'm not going to deny that. As an 8-year-old, I'm sure it wasn't love, but I thought I loved this man and I wanted to see him, and he was the one I wanted to be with, and I pushed everyone away, and I was that special little boy that he said I was, and all of my other friends who I would hang out with weren't special. Another important technique that I went through in finding closure and finding forgiveness was, my therapist told me to write a letter. Write a letter to my abuser, write a letter to my trauma, and I can write what I want, and then I can do what I want with it. I can keep it, I can give it to him, I can give it to a loved one, to a family member, I can take it to my grave, I can burn it, and I'll know when the time is right to write this letter and do with it what I want. So it took me 6 years to write this letter. I didn't touch it, I didn't write it, but then I went home in 2018 for my sister's husband passed away. He died of cancer at a young age. So I went home from the funeral, and I went to see him the morning of the funeral, because I got home the night before. I went to view the body the morning of, and I was with my sister, and I said to her, if I could change places with this guy right now, I would, because he was the sweetest man in the world and he didn't deserve to die, but I felt like I did. And that was when I knew it was time for me to write this letter and finally get that closure and finally find that peace. So I wrote the letter, and this man gave me one gift, if I can call it a gift. He gave me one item. He gave me a little toy car. I went back to my childhood bedroom, and in that place where it'd been probably for the last 30 years was this car with all the other cars. I found it. I sat it on the desk. I wrote my letter. And over time, I'd forgotten where he lived. It was an old part of town, so they were all old houses that have now been knocked down, and new houses have been built and refurbed and all that stuff. So I forgot where he lived. I forgot the street. I don't remember. So I went down to the local park, and I just sat with my thoughts. I sat with this letter, and I sat with this car, and I didn't want to give it to anyone else. I wanted to give it to him. So I sat with it, and then I just burnt the letter, and the smoke and the ashes took it up to the heavens, and he and I know it was in that letter, and that was kind of when I found my real closure. Humanity in the world really is a beautiful place, and we just need to try and find it and go there and live in that, but we are all so selfish and stuck in our ways. And I think that's a big problem with the world, is that we don't want to do the work on ourselves, because if we do the work on ourselves, we're going to discover how unhappy we really are. So we live in our little bubble, we live in our little world where we think it's all perfect, and really it's not. Men don't speak about abuse because of shame. Men aren't supposed to speak about abuse because of toxic masculinity. Men are brought up to believe that we keep our emotions inside. We're strong, we're tough, we are the breadwinners. We need to take care of everyone. We need to show how strong we are and not show any emotion and not cry But what I've discovered is that you're more of a man if you are able to show emotion, if you are able to cry, if you are able to communicate your thoughts, if you are able to be vulnerable. And it's all about vulnerability and communication. Any healthy relationship, if there's no vulnerability, if there's no communication, there's no relationship. So I think that's why most relationships end the way they do, or there's especially when it comes to men who have been abused and haven't dealt with their problems, and they take their abuse out on their partners or whatnot. We need to redefine masculinity. We need to redefine male role models. And male role models are men who show up, men who are vulnerable, men who are able to communicate their deepest, darkest fears, men who are able to cry. As a result of my story, I had a big article came out about me in Australia. And as a result of that, I had a publishing house in Australia asked me to write my memoir, which I did. It is called Toy Cars, and it was released. You can get it on Amazon and all the online bookstores. I've done a TEDx talk, which went amazingly well, and it's out there now, and I encourage everyone to watch it. I just finished filming a documentary about my story, which should be out soon. We're just in post now, which is very exciting. It turned out a lot better than what I thought, actually, and I'm really excited about that. And my memoir has been turned into a movie. The script is being done. It's now with producers. So, there's a lot of exciting things. And for me now, it's about being that person, that advocate who is able to go out there and do these keynote talks and do these interviews and talk about this and try and change the narrative and change the thought around abuse and child sexual abuse and male sexual abuse and speak to other males about, masculinity and toxic masculinity, about narcissism and gaslighting. So for me now, it's about giving back. What happened to me happened for a reason, and the reason why it happened to me is to tell my story, is to educate the world, is to save a life. And if I can do that, then I know I'm doing the right thing.